Hey everybody, Luke Robinson here, way past my bedtime, but Jimmy Stein and I are going to bring you the press conference. I've still got a sinus infection, so I'll be enjoying that while this is going on. But I'm going to bring Jimmy in now. I'm not going to even do the preambles that we usually do. I'm just going to go ahead and let me get Jimmy in here. Jimmy, what's going on, bro?
Yep. Well, it was a good win. One of the things before we start nitpicking and being all negative about a handful of things, let's remember that now in our last 11 road games, that was one of the two easiest wins. I mean, and both of them have been in Starkville, but the fact of the matter is, last 11 road games, there have only been two easy wins where we empty the bench at the end, and that was one of them. And we even got to put in Ty for the last 7.5 minutes of the game. So that overrides everything else. It was a fairly easy win. It wasn't pretty for 60 minutes, but hey, when your last road game was a 17-3 win at South Florida, you take this one.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, you definitely take this. And look, I'm not going to start out negatively, even though I got to say that the second half of that football game was something only a mother could love. I mean, it was just not good football. It just there was no fire, no spunk. The only person that seemed to have some fire was Nick Saban, and he was really trying to light up everybody. And it just felt like it's just not working. I mean, for whatever reason. I'm going to just tell everybody on Twitter here in a second where they can join us to talk about this. I was happy with some things. Obviously, Jalen Milroe, I thought he looked fine. I mean, I thought he looked, better than fine. I mean, did he look like, Tour or Mac or Bryce? No, he didn't. And he's not gonna. And I mean, I told some people that were watching, like, why won't he do this? Why won't he do this? I was watching it with some folks, and I said, because he's not. I mean, quit expecting him to be like he's going to smartly throw the ball away instead of taking a sack or running out of bounds 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do that from now on. And if he ever proves me wrong, God bless him. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I got to say, I love the fact that he had the big run for a touchdown. Hey, my prediction was he was going to get 100 yards rushing this game. They didn't quite get there, but he got pretty close. Yeah. So
yeah, my thing with Jalen, but first of all, on the good side is, the critics, and it's just so over the top, it's ridiculous. The critics keep moving the goalposts because I read repeatedly all week long, like, if we could just get a clean game on the road with no interceptions, that'd be great. Guess what? No interceptions. No interceptions. And what's the reaction on social media? Just total negativity about it. The same people said all we need to see was no interceptions. There were no turnovers by Jalen. And how about this? At one point, he had completed 15 or 16 balls in a row dating back to the last game. 15 or 16 in a row. And again, all people were asking was no interceptions. And then it's still the negativity. Now, he does need to continue to clean up things. I think the bigger things needs to clean up are what I would call football 404 things. I think his improvement in terms of 101, 202, and 303, to borrow from college terms, I think those things he's improving every week. Every week it gets a little better and cleaned up. I think where all the improvement needs to go is the difficult stuff. And by that, I mean pre-snap reads, protections. When he can look, hey, sometimes football's easy. Sometimes it's complicated, but sometimes it's easy. Sometimes we got 6 in to block. They're bringing 7. Okay, Jalen needs to know. He needs to count that. And, okay, they're bringing 1 more than I've got a blocker. I can't just take the snap and wait for something to happen. I've got to kill the ball, throw it out of bounds, or take the snap and run. But there's too many slow decisions when there's a lot of urgency required. And I think a lot of it's on the pre-snap reads that he's just got to see the field a little better. I think where he is, Luke, where I see tremendous improvement is post-snap reads, going through progressions, going to a second target, a third target. he's almost too patient, but he's completing balls and making plays after the protection breaks down and after he buys himself some time. He wasn't doing that just 3 weeks ago.
No,
So he's improving, but it's still a work in progress. He's the least experienced starting quarterback in the entire SEC.
okay, and I agree. He is improving. I saw some things tonight where he was actually moving upfield. You thought he was going to take off, and he had some nice passes. A couple of them being to Amari Knobloch, who I thought played a whale of a game. Man, I mean, just visceral reaction from the game would be Amari Knobloch would be among your 4 to 5 stars. I mean, Will Reichert's in there. I guess you would include Milroe, even though, I mean, I think it's saying he was a star, maybe stretching it. He was good. He was really good, better than most people probably project him to be just about every game right now. I thought that Caleb Downs with a nice interception towards the end. That was nice. Glad to see that. Let me tell you what's not going to have – that's going to have people talking all week. This is going to light up Feinbaum's call monitor or call system, whatever. We lined up in a shotgun in 4th and short again. Now, I believe that we actually had a false start, so we had to do another play, and it turned out I think we ended up getting the first down if memory serves. But I was so mad about lining up, and I said maybe it was 3rd and 1 instead of
3rd and 1.
Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
Same thing.
Still stupid. And I thought we said we're not going to do that anymore. I thought that was pretty clear. Now, Saban didn't say we're not going to do that particular thing, but he said it in such a way that made us all think we're not going to do that anymore. And then we did it. Don't do that anymore.
And then Nick Saban went crazy. We can guess as to what he was going crazy about, but he was screaming into that headset. I thought it was pretty obvious what he was screaming about. I thought it was at the time, but then later in the half, we, like you already alluded to, did the same thing on 3rd and 1, went shotgun again, and then there was a penalty. Now, later in the game, by the way, on short yardage, we went under center, made the first down easily, I might add. I don't know. I'm super frustrated with that. I get, somebody pointed out to me the other day, and this is true, Tommy Rees isn't the first Alabama offensive coordinator to want to run shotgun on 3rd and 1. We've been doing this for a while, but we've been doing it for a while with Bryce. We've been doing it for a while with Tua. They might as well throw it on 3rd and 1. You can trust them to throw it on 3rd and 1, just like they do in the NFL. And we don't have that situation. Now when it's 3rd and 1, we need the yard, and we have a 225-pound quarterback that can move a school bus up a hill. I mean, you run the quarterback sneaks. Now it's not Bryce. It's not Tua. I still don't think we're doing enough to help Jalen as well as we can.
100% agree. And here's one other thing. I want to bring up something, and I didn't really even notice this during the game. I probably should have, because where's Kobe Prentice? Where's Jermaine Burton?
I think they were hurt. I mean, I don't know about Prentice. I never saw Prentice the whole game, and I didn't see Burton at all in the second half. I'm guessing, I did see Burton in the first half. I'm guessing he got hurt and the Prentice was just hurt and couldn't play. Or, and boy, this is super speculation, but I talked about some of this week because people can't wait to see more people out of the rotation. Once Jalen Hale became clearly a part of the first team rotation, and we saw quite a bit of Hale tonight. I don't know that he caught balls, but we saw quite a bit of Hale. It's tough to play 7 guys.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe somebody got squeezed out. It's hard to play more than 6 with your first team rotation. So maybe we're not seeing those guys because we're adding Jalen Hale in. Not Burton. We're not going to bench Burton. Burton's probably the best receiver we got. I think Jermaine Burton, who did play in the first half, was hurt in the second half. I'm guessing maybe Nick Saban will address it in the PC that we're shortly about to see, perhaps.
Well, we're hopeful we're going to see it. I've got it pulled up and everything, so let's see. But going through the receiving numbers, Amari Knobloch had 3 catches. Benson had 1 like right early, and I was like, "Oh yeah, get Benson involved. I'll dig it." And then we didn't hear anything else from him. Dupree had 1. I was like, "Oh yeah, finally Dupree's back on the field." Then we don't hear anything else from him. Jason McClellan had 2. Both of them were sort of bailouts. It looked like. Isaiah Bond had a nice one, but only one. Kendrick Law had a catch, and Ja'Cory Brooks had a catch. That I know Brooks has led to a first down. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 guys make catches.
There's only 12. There's only 12 receptions in the whole game, right?
And 5 of them caught one catch. So yeah, I mean,
well, we didn't throw the ball very much at all. We didn't run a lot of plays.
There were 12 attempts.
Yeah, 12 attempts, but not even a whole lot of plays on offense. I mean, as much as you'd expect in a game. Our game sort of flew by. It was the antithesis, to use a big old word, the antithesis of the LSU Ole Miss game that preceded it, which took 8 hours. Lane Kiffin is now old. Lane Kiffin is in his mid 60s. That game took forever. Jackson Dart is now too old to play in the NFL. That's how long that game took.
Yeah, it really was awful. And I'll tell you, I was at a party, and they had everything set up for the Alabama game, but they have YouTube TV. Now, I signed up for YouTube TV to get the NFL package and whatever, but also kept my direct TV because I just make that kind of money. Actually, no, because I'm stupid, and I'd rather just throw money up a hog's butt, apparently. But so I looked at my wife because they couldn't figure out how to get to the ESPN News to switch it back, and we were all trying, and we're all old, and we don't know how to do it, and it ended up almost being a fight because I told my wife, I said, I'm not missing the Alabama game. I'm happy that this woman is having twins. This is wonderful, but they're not my twins. I do a podcast on Alabama football, and I'm not going to miss it. And I love it anyway. If I weren't doing this podcast, I would still go home to watch Alabama football. Luckily, they got it figured out. So I got to hang around. Couple other things. Some people are saying in the comments, man, thank y'all for joining us. We got over 200 people watching right now. Y'all are the best. It's just awesome.
200.
I know, it's crazy.
Hey, everybody.
Several comments have been about Justice Haynes. When Justice Haynes came out on the field, I said, thank you, Lord. And they knew what we were running. We knew what we were running. Everybody knew what we were running. And he still made something out of it every time. And he showed incredible balance on one play. And that's all I'm saying is give the man a chance. I understand Chris McCullum's been really good. He's been really good these last couple of weeks. Roy Dale Williams been really good these last couple of weeks. Neither one of them is breaking it, though. Let's see if this guy comes in and brings a spark. So I'm going to tell you something, Jimmy. If I were picking right now, and I understand I'm on Mucinex and several other things, and it's late and it's way past my bedtime, and I did the scoreboard show last night, and I have no business being up this late at 11:40. But if I were picking right now, I would pick Texas A&M to beat us next week. After what I saw from them today and their defensive line and the push they get without even blitzing, and then I saw Mississippi State get to our guy. I mean, I know they had at least 3 sacks. That's Mississippi State. So we're going to need a spark. We're going to need a change of something. And if we can't make it happen with what we've got out there, we better put something fresh out there to give somebody else something to deal with. So I'm very pro Justice Haynes getting some carries next week. Nick Saban may 100% disagree with me. And if he does, so be it. He's right. I'm wrong. I get it. But I am very concerned about Texas A&M. We are barreling towards the SEC championship game we all thought we'd get, Missouri against Texas A&M.
No, I don't think that's the case. But as far as justice, one of the things that stood out to me about this game, Luke, was how there's a handful of what I call hidden plays. It had nothing to do with the outcome, had nothing to do with the score, but it's the plays I'll remember. And one was the Justice Haynes run at the very end, where I think he kind of flashed what makes us excited about him. And I hope it leads to more carries, because I think we all know he's going to be a dude. It's just a matter of when. So that's exciting. And one of the things I already joked about on Twitter, but Connor Talty's tackle, the kicker, comes in late to kick off because he's getting an opportunity to play because the backup kicker doesn't get to do that. And then he makes an incredible touchdown saving form tackle. That to me was like really a really cool moment in the game, even though we obviously didn't cover the kick very well. But we still have issues. We have issues getting the blitz blocked. We have issues just getting the front blocked. But overall, it's fine. Overall, the offensive numbers were good. Overall, we ran the ball fine. Overall, we scored a lot of points against an SEC football team. But getting things blocked up front remains an issue. So,
all right, Jimmy, we got some Nick Saban on here at the press conference, so let's go ahead and swing it over to him if I can figure it out. How about that?
all right.
Is anybody hearing this, or do y'all hear me? Do you hear me, Jimmy?
I hear you, but I don't hear Coach. You're liable to be funnier. You're liable to be funnier.
I don't understand. Why?
I don't.
Why can't? Oh, I know why. Because I have it turned down here.
A little bit. And he did a great job. Big play in the game.
Coach, you mentioned that Jalen was efficient tonight, but you want to see more confidence instilled in him. What does that look like for you, and what does he need to do specifically to instill more confidence?
Well, I think he's building more confidence every day. I think he's played better in each game, and I think he'll continue to do that as he gets experience. You know, I think we're all a little smarter as we get older because we have more experience. So, and I think, you know, as he gains more experience, he's going to gain more confidence. He's very committed in preparing the right way and doing the things that he needs to do to be able to play well in a game. And I think as he gets a more comfortable understanding defense, he'll be able to make quicker decisions, and he's going to be fine.
Guys, in the comments, you can hear.
I know you don't like to talk about offensive linemen individually until you've seen tape, but as a group, did you have the sense that they played their best game or one of their best games?
Oh, they played really well. You know, those guys, I mean, even you all can tell that they were plugging and stunting a lot, right? But I told you that, dude. And that's really tough on offensive linemen when you have to block movement and pluggers all the time. And I think the offensive line did a fantastic job of controlling the line of scrimmage. I don't know what we ended up rushing for, but, you know, and I think that's important to our team to have that kind of balance.
Johnny, there were several short yard situations where you either went out of the gun or the pistol. Is that something that you like, and why or why not?
You know, I watch games on TV, you know, and everybody's in a gun. You know, some people never get under center. I think, you know, when we're in the gun, we clap. Players get in a rhythm. When you get under center, you have to go on voice command. And it was pretty loud out there on a couple of those occasions. And I think we had some things that we wanted to do in short yardage with the quarterback under, but I think we're a little apprehensive about using verbal cadence. So, you know, when I played, everybody was in an I formation and the quarterback was under center. You know, we watched a movie last night called The Program, which was like 30 years ago, which I played 30 years before that. And that's the only formation there was in the whole game was I formation, quarterback under center. So now the quarterback's never under center.
We have finally reached the Nick Saban saying back in my day part of his era.
Did we watch The Program on a VHS tape in a hotel in Columbus, Mississippi?
So it still comes down to executing. All them other plays that we ran in the game that made, how many yards do we have rushing?
193.
193. We're in a gun every time. Explain that to me. You've asked about this 2 times in a row, so I know you're a quarterback under center guy. I know that.
Go to Nick. Who was the defensive signal caller tonight in replacing Deontay, and how did he do?
Trez did. Trez did it. He did fine. We had a couple of mistakes on with the backers on, you know, when they run sliders and the tight end comes across the backfield, depending on what the defense is and what the fit is, everybody's got to know, how do I slide back in my gap and who takes the guy? Well, a couple times, one time for sure, we didn't take him. A couple other times we took them when we weren't supposed to take them. So that linebacker that was taking them should have been playing a gap. So, and that comes with experience. But Trez did a really good job in the game. I was really pleased with him. He's been a really good addition for us. He's got maturity. He's an older guy. He doesn't get rattled out there. He's got a lot of mental toughness, and he's been a really solid player for us all year.
Finish here with Austin.
Yeah, coach, it's not very common to go against the same quarterback 4 times. You've seen Will Rogers 4 times, and he's averaged under 200 yards and had 8 interceptions in those 4 starts. What do you think your team has done so well over the last 4 years to kind of limit him?
Well, he's a really good player. I didn't really realize what you just said, but he's a really good player. You know, the last couple of years when they were always in 4 wideouts, we did all kinds of junk, you know, where you knew they were going to pass. Well, we had some of that junk dialed up for them tonight, and they ran the ball every time on 3rd and 8 and made a first down. So I just think the guy's an outstanding player. I got a tremendous amount of respect for him. I thought our players did a good job of not allowing them to have explosive plays, you know, and I especially throwing, because that was my concern going into the game. I was concerned about, can we stop them running, which we didn't do a very good job of, but they ran the ball in some situations that we didn't think they would. And we were able to limit the explosive plays that he made in the game. And I think early pressure on him was a positive thing for us.
All right, thanks, Coach. Guys,
Thank
hustle
you.
downstairs for players because I know Ellis is going to be chomping the bit to get out of here.
So that's going to do it for the press conference there. You know, a couple of things he said. I noticed that they picked up some 3rd and longs running the ball. I thought it was kind of funny because I thought watching the LSU Ole Miss game, it felt like both LSU and Ole Miss were doing that some. So I think maybe teams are doing that a little bit more, thinking, you know, everybody thinks pass is coming on 3rd and 8 and we'll hit them with the draw or something. I also thought it was interesting that he essentially admitted, hey, either Zach Arnett or Will Rogers. By the way, that stat about Will Rogers that they put up on TV, that Will Rogers, before his touchdown tonight, which was a short touchdown, sort of a junky, you know, nondescript touchdown. That's his first touchdown pass against Alabama. That's pretty doggone.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. And we intercepted it 3 times tonight. So, I mean, I think it makes 10 total interceptions is what they said. So we average intercepting him twice a game, and he's got 1 touchdown. I mean, that tells you why we're 4-0 against him. But
he really is too good of a quarterback for Alabama to have this type of success against him. It has a lot more to do with how Alabama matches up with Mississippi State at the line of scrimmage than it has to do with Will Rogers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Will's one of the better quarterbacks in Mississippi State history. I mean, anybody with his numbers, you have to say that. But for Will's lack of success against Alabama, that's not coincidence. It's just Alabama's just a better team than Mississippi State most years. But it's almost like you could tell Nick wanted to be nothing but complimentary of Will, and he didn't want to say anything at all that would be negative. I thought the most interesting thing he said, Luke, was, because I didn't think about it myself, but you know, when he said, hey, you know, when you go under center, you've got to go with cadence, and it's a loud place because of the cowbells and everything else. It's loud, and we're kind of more comfortable in shotgun when we can go on the clap, because you can hear the clap despite the noise. And boy, that makes a ton of sense. See, some things in retrospect make a ton of sense.
It does.
And that's why we have these press conferences, and it makes me feel a little bit better that we didn't come in with Tommy Rees just kind of arguing with Nick about, no, I want to do it from shotgun, while Nick's like, you're going to go under center. There's actually some thought into, hey, we're probably going to have to be shotgun here because of the noise.
Hunter W says, y'all look tired as hell, especially Jimmy. I thank you, Hunter, for throwing in especially Jimmy. That makes me warm the cockles of my heart right in this area.
This is normally about the time I'm going to breakfast the next day.
I was going to say, I'm normally on TT break number 2, so y'all give me a little slack. I also am dealing, as I said, with a sinus infection, and I had to do a scoreboard show last night, statewide scoreboard show that lasts till midnight, then drive to Birmingham. So yeah, and then I had to coach my daughter's soccer team this morning at 9:30. So it's been a day, guys. It's not just Nick Saban that has to work, everybody. But a couple of things too. He sort of made it seem like, okay, Zach Arnett and or Will Rogers figured out that we were doing some junk, and they sort of schemed around it. Now maybe that was all happenstance, maybe, but it did make me think. Can you imagine when Nick Saban's talking about, hey, our linebackers have to pick up the tight end slides and know which gap? We can joke about Bobby Petrino. I have joked about Bobby Petrino. The guy's a gifted play caller. And can you imagine what he is doing right now? Like thinking about, oh my God, I'm
already working on it.
Already
working on it.
There's no doubt. So, and then one other thing I wrote down, I thought, I did say Jalen Milroe, I thought his eyes were down the field a little more, which I appreciate. And like you said, you brought up a great point. Milroe's gotten better. I guess my only, and I'm not trying to fire back at that. I'm not refuting it because you're right. What I'm saying is he going to get better enough in time enough for this season? Because,
Right.
Jimmy, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I feel like whoever the starting quarterback is for us this year, I feel like we're going to have a new starting quarterback next year. And I'm picking Julian Sayin because I love what I see out of him. I know, true freshman, blah, blah, blah. I know. I'm just telling you, I feel like it's headed in that direction eventually. So,
I want to see the next. I would say I just want to see the next 7 games before I get to anything about that. I think it's a great question you have about, Jalen is improving, but is he improving quickly enough to accomplish great things as a team this season? I think that's a really fair question. I don't know. I'm not crazy optimistic about next week. But before I think some people, if I'm not optimistic about the outcome next week, I think some people are going to take that as me taking some sort of shot at Alabama or even Jalen. Really, my opinion is based on what I've seen in the SEC over the past couple of weeks, I don't think any team in the SEC would win at College Station.
That's
So
true.
I'm not saying Alabama stinks or we're not good enough. I'm not sure Georgia would win in College Station next week. So if I'm not optimistic, it's really more of a compliment to A&M and their players and their coaches and how well they're playing and how good Max Johnson is.
Passion of John says, way too much negativity in here after the win. Enjoy them while Saban is still here. I promise you, listen, Passion of John, if you've ever listened to us, we enjoy it all. But Jimmy and I are pretty analytical about the games. Yeah, in the moment, right after a big win, a national championship, whatever, last second field goal, big thing, I'll be going nuts and drinking beer like everybody else. But almost immediately after that, which I'll only allow to last about 10 minutes, I start thinking about the other aspects of the game. And I'm not like a football savant. Jimmy is.
Not everybody can listen to the whole show, but we started the show with that is a top 2 performance on the road in the past 3 years. And it was one of the top 2 performances on the road over 3 years. I thought it was Jalen Milroe's best game. I think Jalen Milroe each week plays his best game. I think he's been better week to week. I know he played really good in the first game, but I think he does things now in week 4 and 5 that he was incapable or not doing well in week 1. He gets better and better with the mental part of it. He'd completed 15 passes in a row. The running game is getting better. Again, some of this improvement is inch by inch, foot by foot. It's not drastic, but we're running better than we were. Defensively, we were better in the second half. We were better last week, but I also think sometimes you relax a little bit because you're going to win the game. I thought there was enough good things on defense. So I'm overall, it was, I think, a tremendous positive. If I'm down in any way, it's just because, gosh, next week looks really, really tough, and I'm not sure we're ready for next week. But I would be saying the same thing if we were Georgia or LSU.
When's the last time we were headed anywhere. That wasn't Jordan Hare. I mean, for me, Jordan Hare is different because I know that place is an Indian burial ground built on the remains of dead leprechauns, and they used crashed UFOs to build the superstructure. I know how weird that place is. So, and I grew up in Alex City, so it's different for me, right? So, not everybody feels that way, but like every other road game since probably the blackout against Georgia. I mean, I did not feel like we were going to go in there and win. I felt like we were going there, and I was like, let's go in there and play well. And we ended up beating the crap out of them. But since then, no matter who it was on the road, I've been like, yeah, I feel good about it. Why shouldn't I? I immediately after tonight don't feel good about A&M, and because here's another reason, because I watched A&M today, and they've gotten better. I'm like, okay, this is it's not quite what people thought A&M would be like a couple years ago or last year or whatever, but they're making these guys that were highly recruited defensive linemen and Walter Nolan, guys like that they're making plays. They're back there, and you know who they were making it against? A guy in KJ Jefferson who's a lot like Jalen Milroe. He's big,
a lot more experienced,
but
a lot more experienced,
right? So, and I get it. There's some people that are like, y'all are nuts. Why are you worried about A&M? Never should worry about A&M. I mean, I'm just telling you.
They beat us. They beat us the last time we were in College Station. Our quarterback was Bryce Young.
Yeah, that's right. One other thing I wanted to say, Zach Arnett has no shot. Can we all admit that? Anybody in the comments, does anybody think Zach Arnett has a shot at this? He has no shot. And I knew this the moment I saw. Like, I feel, first of all, Zach Arnett has been like the least talked about coach in the SEC since he's been hired. Secondly, every time I saw him tonight, all I could think was, I was like, that guy looks like he's a sixth-year senior who he's still kind of a deek, but he doesn't pay dues. He just shows up at the house a lot, and everybody's like, just let him eat. It's cool. And he's mad that none of the other girls want to go on swap dates with him. It looks like Zach Arnett was just disinterested in the game half the time, whereas Nick Saban was fiery and he was mad, and we love to see it. And Nick Saban also just has a presence about him. Zach Arnett, God bless him, I think you got to be an interesting cat to make Mississippi State a winner. And Zach Arnett just didn't seem like an interesting cat to me.
Yeah, he's a little overwhelmed, I think, early on. I think at some point he had a look on his face like, as the boss, am I supposed to have answers for this? Like, what am I supposed to do when they're like a lot better than us?
Somebody said, I even saw him yawn once. Please let that be true on the rewatch that I see that. I will videotape that clip and put it out on
I think he just didn't have any answers, and sometimes there's just aren't any answers. And as to whether he's successful at state or not, I would guess no. But I'll say that it's dudes. I mean, he does. Mississippi State's had more dudes in the past than they've got right now at this moment, and he'll be successful if he gets dudes. But it's traditionally sort of tough to get dudes there.
Well, and it's also traditionally tough to get dudes when you're, number one, you're not a dude yourself, or you don't have much personality. There's nothing about him that like separates him from an amalgam of what you think a Power 5 coach would be, a Group of 5 coach would be. Like just pick a coach out of a sock, and he could coach Akron, or he could coach Mississippi State, or he could coach Toledo, or whatever. You've got to have a gimmick, I think, if you're Mississippi State. And Mike Leach had that. And that's Mike Leach also, his gimmick came 10 years too late. I've admitted that 100 times. I see a lot of people saying we are going to win next week. Man, I'm going to feel.
I hope so. I hope so.
I'm going to feel. I hope so. Somebody said, did y'all hear the what the F near the end of the game? Yes, I did, because there was a call, and I think it was against Mississippi State, and the official was making the call on his mic. And somebody walked by and said, I don't think he said what the F. I think he just said F. And I was thinking, oh, somebody's going to play that some more. Like, that's going to get up play. But anyway, look, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Jimmy and I are going to bed. It's midnight. We're tired. We're old. Y'all just hang with us. Hey, 200 people plus in here tonight. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being Alabama sickos just like we are. And we will have a podcast tomorrow, and we will talk about some of these same things and a lot
And
more.
y'all help me change my mind about my prediction next week. Y'all help me, because the prediction's not going to happen until the show that airs on Thursday or Friday. So y'all help me change my mind.
Yeah, somebody's already AJ Evans already chimed in. So we're scared of Max Johnson. I am not scared of Max Johnson. I want to let that for the record. I am scared to death of his dad, Brad Johnson. Did you see him in the stands today? That man could bench press Connecticut.
He's got tickets to the gun show.
He does. And what's funny, he was sitting next to Jason Witten. They were talking about what good friends they are. And both of them were like this, right? And like, you can do that and sort of make a muscle or whatever. I don't know. This thing's screwing up. But Brad Johnson, you could tell he wasn't doing that. And Brad Johnson's bigger than Jason Witten. And Jason Witten is a monster human being. If Jason Witten walked in the room and go, that's the biggest dude in here. And then Brad Johnson lumbers in right behind him. You're like, oh my God, that thing's about to eat Jason Witten. But I was scared of Brad Johnson. I was, and I don't want to mess with him. And I hope he doesn't hear that I'm scared of him. Anyway, all right. Hey, appreciate y'all for joining in. We're just having some fun after the game. And we will talk to y'all tomorrow. We will have a podcast then. Y'all be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.